Welcome back. House Republicans are expected to vote on one big budget bill today. House Speaker Mike Johnson believes it will pass despite not having everyone on board. Representatives Tim Burchett, Victoria Spartz, and Thomas Massie have all said they are set to vote no, saying that the plan does not reduce spending enough. Moderates, meanwhile, have their own problems with it. They are raising concerns over cuts to programs like Medicaid, while House Democrats are planning to protest Trump's tax cuts in the bill. Republicans can only lose one vote in the House to pass anything along party lines. Joining me now is the chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee, Missouri Congressman Jason Smith. Mr. Chairman, always a pleasure. Thanks so much for being here.
It's great to be with you, Maria.
So what are the prospects for this vote today?
You know, we're going to get it done. It's not ever easy to pass anything in the House of Representatives. We have the smallest majority in the history of America, but we'll defy those odds. We'll get it done. There's 207 million reasons of why we have to get this done. This budget resolution is just the first step of the process. Then it goes over to the Senate, and then we'll be able to do the reconciliation bill that will deliver on tax relief, energy policy, border policy, and also spending cuts.
So the Freedom Caucus is making noise about the spending cuts, saying it's not enough. Have you identified at least $1.5 trillion in spending cuts? Walk us through where the cuts are. Is it $880 billion in Medicaid cuts, as I am reading here, which is an analyst making these predictions?
There's 11 different committees of jurisdiction, Maria, that are within this budget resolution, and each committee has an assignment of how much they need cuts in. For example, in ag, it's just over $200 billion. In energy and commerce, it's over $800 billion. We have went through these cuts, and we have went through these cuts with the president. We can deliver the $1.5 trillion worth of cuts and not affect the benefits of Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security. There's so much waste and fraud within the program. For example, one of the provisions that you can do is require authorization and acceptance into a program more than once a year. Right now, someone can receive all kinds of benefits and then 5 days later not qualify, but then stay on it for another 360 days. That's not right. That's not how the process works, and that will save billions of dollars alone if we implement that process.
What do you want to say to those people who are upset about these cuts to the SNAP and nutrition assistance? $230 billion in cuts to SNAP and nutrition assistance?
For one, you can't say that it's cuts to SNAPs. This resolution just says the Ag Committee has to cut more than $200 billion. Okay. What you have is other people like the Democrats going out there saying you're going to cut Medicaid, you're going to cut benefits. Nowhere, Maria, in the resolution does it say what the cuts are. It just sets the goal and the target rate of how much we're going to cut.
Is this enough to make these tax rates permanent?
Well, in order to make these tax cuts permanent, using the rules of reconciliation, which, Maria, the only reason why we're using reconciliation is because the Senate cannot pass legislation with a simple majority of the vote. Using reconciliation does not help the House. It's only to help the Senate maneuver the 60-vote threshold. We absolutely, with using the current policy baseline, can make the tax cuts permanent. Of course, I advocated for the current policy baseline because that is current tax policy. We could get it done. The Senate has said and demanded, 9 senators demanded, that they will not vote for a reconciliation bill unless it makes tax cuts permanent. I agree. Let's make tax cuts permanent. This is the time.
Now, I'm thinking about the Medicaid cuts, and, you know, it seems like that might be the biggest issue to tackle, especially since last week we saw both Senator Collins of Maine and Hawley of Missouri both vote against Medicaid cuts in that vote-a-rama.
Well, if you just look, there was even an amendment on the floor during that vote-a-rama that would have cut $1.5 trillion worth of cuts, and only 24 Republican senators, Maria, voted for that. Okay. The spending cut appetite is not in the United States Senate. It's in the House of Representatives. Think about this. The most spending that has ever been cut in the history of America was $400 billion. We can outdo that by a long shot, and we will do that.
Okay. All right. So let's say hypothetically this bill passes. You say if this reconciliation bill passes today, you will begin working on the tax bill immediately. Tell us what that includes and how long that takes. When do you expect the tax portion done?
You know, Maria, we've been working on the time for this tax bill for over a year in the House Ways and Means Committee, and we're going to deliver on the president's priority. He wants us to extend his expiring Tax Cut and Jobs Act, that we will in fact do that. He wants no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, tax relief for seniors, an advanced tax cut for products that are produced in the United States. The Ways and Means Committee is ready to deliver on these priorities. 77 million Americans voted for these priorities to be delivered, and that's in fact what the House Ways and Means Committee will deliver.
And you're also talking about planning weekly tax discussions at the White House, right? And you'll include Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, other lawmakers, and you'll be in those discussions weekly. What is the purpose of that? To ensure that everybody understands what you're trying to do and is on the same page?
It's making sure that we're working hand in glove with the administration, and the House and Senate are working together. At those meetings, of course, you'll see the heads of the tax writing committees of the House and Senate, myself, Chairman Crapo. You also see the leaders of each chamber and also the leaders within the administration. And this is essential to make sure that the communication is direct and that we're all on the same page to deliver for 207 million Americans.
Well, Mr. Chairman, you've also got the $4.5 trillion for the tax rate extensions, obviously, and then you've got the $4 trillion debt increase, the debt limit increase, and then, of course, what the Senate has worked on as well, the $300 billion increased spending on defense and border. Tell us about that.
So the one big beautiful bill delivers on all of the president's priorities. Unfortunately, the Senate version does not deliver on all of the president's priorities. They do nothing on tax and they do nothing on spending cuts. The House version does it all. That's why the president has vocally supported with his post last week for the Senate to take up the House bill and to pass the House budget resolution, because it's the quickest and best approach to deliver on all of the president's priorities.
So the resolution on this is probably when? The end of March? When do we know? Because if hypothetically speaking, if your bill, the bill in the House, does not pass today, then should we assume that we need to start focusing on what the Senate is doing on a two-track strategy?
Unfortunately, the Senate's proposal of a two-track strategy could never even pass the House of Representatives. The best likelihood of passing a budget resolution has to be a big, beautiful bill. That's in fact why we're pushing it. The skinny version that Lindsey Graham passed out of the Senate wouldn't get the votes over in the House of Representatives. Tax and spending cuts have to be included.
So how will you convince Victoria Spartz, Tom Massey? And by the way, Tom Massey votes against President Trump's priorities all the time.
So I'll tell you, there's 207 million reasons of why they need to deliver on this. And I say 207 million because that's how many taxpayers that are affected by the expiration of Trump's successful tax cuts. You will see the child tax cut, a child tax credit slashed in half, going from $2,000 to $1,000. You will see the guaranteed deduction, which 91% of Americans use to file their taxes, get slashed in half. And you will see every individual tax bracket, low income, high income, to increase. On average, every single American will face a 22% tax increase. This is the last thing that Americans need after they have faced an inflation tax over the last 4 years of over 21%.
All right, so Congressman, what's the timing on this? The vote starts when? After 6 p.m.?
The vote will be this evening. We'll start debate during the day, and that will lead to the vote this evening. And you know, this is a process. This is just the first step.
Right.
Throughout the process, we have to get the train out of the station, get it going, because we have to deliver for the American people. Yeah,
look, you're a few days in, so you're on a good schedule. We'll be watching your work, sir. We so appreciate your time this morning, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.